welcome Terra Virtua community. I'm Gary Bracey from Terra Virtua, and it is my huge honor and privilege to be hosting this very, very exclusive industry first art exhibition that's been created by the incredible Tim Cantor, and I'm delighted to be able to introduce him and his lovely soulmate, partner, muse, Amy. That we were very lucky to have both of them here today. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Tim Cantor and Amy.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's great to have you here. And I ought to mention as well that it's 6 a.m., isn't it, where you are, Tim?
It is. So this is early for Amy.
Yes, but perfect for
But
Tim.
perfect for me, yeah. I usually don't go to bed for another couple hours. So I start painting. They usually start painting around midnight, 1 o'clock, and don't go to bed until about 8.
Yeah.
Which is great for me because whenever we have a conversation, he's in my time zone. I'm in the UK. Tim's on the West Coast. Works perfectly for me. I'm very convenient. Thank you. Very, very thoughtful. So Tim, we just start at the beginning a little bit and just wanted to give a little bit of background on you, really. So let's start at the beginning. When did you start painting, really?
I started painting when I was about 5, which is strange, in oil paints, because my dad gave me a box of oil paints that belonged to my great-grandfather when I was just a little kid, because I was so obsessed with drawing. And that's all. Then I've been obsessed with oils my whole life. So I started really young.
That's amazing. And talk about oils. I mean, I know all of your paintings are done in oils, but it's not just that you buy oils in a store and use those. Tell us a little bit about your really traditional techniques.
Yeah, I'm so obsessed with looking at historical work, and I want to make my art as timeless as possible. So I have this obsession with seeking out like the old world style paints and getting the powdered versions of them. So we'll travel around the world finding this stuff that you can't seem to get in America a lot of the times. I'll smuggle it back in our luggage. and so as often as I can, I mean, it's not all I use, but as often as I can, I mix that. It's a powdered form of oil paint that they used 500 years ago. Da Vinci and Vermeer and Rembrandt all used this type of paint, and you mix it with linseed oil on your palette, and you kind of grind it down. And so it's not a necessity. I don't have to do that. It's just my own personal need to feel like I'm one of those guys. So.
It's authentic. It's really, really old school and traditional, which is I think, from my perspective, a little bit in contrast with your actual work, which is surreal, and you've got a lot of traditional art combined with very modernistic and surreal and contemporary flavors, and the mixture you have. Someone asked me, what style is Tim Cantor? I couldn't describe it. You're just eclectic, and it's a style of your own, really.
Yeah, I still struggle with that when people say, what do you paint? I don't have a specific answer for that. I usually, the cell phones made everything a lot better because I can go, well, here, look.
Yes.
I can't pinpoint it. So, but you're right. When I look at that the historical work, what inspires me is the technique and the quality of the paintings. But I have, this modern day brain that comes up with modern day imagery. I just want to paint it, in that style or with that level of care that they did 500 years ago.
And it shows. That comes through in the paintings, and in fact, it even goes through to the frames as well, doesn't it? I mean, you spend a lot of time considering the framing.
Yeah, it does. We just like the paints, we'll travel the world, and there's still a few people out there who will carve the frames in the same fashion that they did 500-600 years ago. So we seek that out. Mostly in Venice. Venice, Italy is where we go once a year before COVID hit. We would go every year to Venice, and this man that I know there makes a lot of my frames. I don't know if you could see one. There's one back there.
Yeah.
No, you can't see it in the shop, but anyway, they're hand carved. He burns them and ages them. So
a lot of his father, who we actually worked with as well, his frames are in the Vatican. So that's pretty exciting.
Really? Yeah. And also, speaking of famous places where your paintings reside, I heard rumblings of the White House.
That was the first painting I ever sold, was to the White House. So when I was 15 years old, my teacher in high school entered me into a competition, and I won a first place prize in California. So I was like the 15-year-old high school kid to represent California. And part of that was the White House chooses, you get an exhibition. So you win this award, and then you get this exhibition. And in that exhibition, the White House, one of your paintings gets bought by the White House and goes in their permanent collection. And I was 15 years old, and that made a lot of press locally in San Francisco where I lived. And that's kind of what started me showing in galleries and
that's amazing. I mean, that's supposed to be the pinnacle of your career. You're not supposed to start there. I mean, how can you go up from there?
It did kind of, I feel that way. It started really high. And then when I sort of lost that novelty of being so young and painting in oils and showing it, then I kind of went down a little bit, and then we would travel on our own. That's when I met Amy, and Sheila met me at my lowest point.
Yes, that's when he knows I'll love him forever.
But we would travel and show my art on the streets, a lot of these street festivals, and so we went through a few years of that. And I was showing in galleries still, but it was a cool time. I wouldn't trade it for anything, but.
It's all part of the experience that contributes to your art, I guess. So one of the, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit of feedback and echo. One of the things you're famous for people who aren't familiar with your work, is your relationship with the Imagine Dragons, the wonderful rock band who I'm a fan of anyway. How did you get involved? How did you meet up with them and get involved with Imagine Dragons?
Well, they called me just out of the blue. Actually, Amy talked to them first. It was Mac. Mac is the manager of Imagine Dragons, and we were shopping one day, and we get this call out of the blue from Mac, and he says, "Would you be interested in doing the album cover? We have a band. Their name's Imagine Dragons, and I think you can."
Yeah, I was so excited, but I was trying to play it down.
You're cool.
Yeah. But the reality of that, it's one of those calls that it changes your life, Yeah. So.
Yeah, and that at first it was just going to be, I was going to paint the album cover, and it was great because honestly, at first I didn't think it was something I was going to do because I don't really ever do commission work, and I assumed that they had an idea in their head, and I was like, I don't think I can do this, but they were so nice that they said, we just want to share our music with you and let you listen to that music and let it inspire you to come up with an image. And so that's exactly what they did. They sent the music over. I went crazy for a couple of weeks drawing, doing rough little oil studies based on the lyrics that I was hearing. And then I went to meet with them for the first time. And they loved it. They loved everything I was doing. And they loved it so much that I did the cover. And then I did 13. Well, I did a few more original paintings based on that, but they used 14 total, if you include the cover.
Wow.
14 of my paintings to represent every song on the Smoke and Mirrors album.
Oh,
So
that's fantastic.
and then it just kept growing. And then we did the shots video. They said, show up in Vegas one day, and we drove out to Vegas, and they surprised me with that. And we showed up to the set, and all these people were dressed up as characters for my paintings.
That must have been incredible.
Yeah, that was one of our
they said
favorite days of our life.
you have to be in the video too, so Tim actually makes a little cameo.
That's right.
You're in the video. As long as you're not playing the music, that's okay. You didn't sing.
It wouldn't work.
And then you went on part of the tour, and you had an exhibition tour with their tour, didn't you, or something?
We did. That was something too that I don't think that's ever been done to that level, where we took a museum basically on tour. We went to, I forget, it was 90 shows maybe total, if you include Asia and London we were in, and Paris, and then we did all of America and Canada. It was crazy. And the whole time we would take this 50-foot display with us that got set up at every show. That's what the picture that's on the screen right now, that's part of it.
Wow.
It was really neat. It was totally immersive. So people would put on headphones and listen to mixes of the songs by Hans Zimmer, and then be able to see the art and see what went into making the album. And Tim was there at every show, and
that's amazing. And of course, it's not just art. You do, it's your writings as well, isn't it, Tim? That you combine poetry and prose with your visual work.
Yeah, I do. That started from, I think it started from my lack of confidence about describing my paintings in person. You know, when we're in the gallery or something, and someone says, "Tell me about this painting," it's hard to get out all the emotion that I put into something. I put so much time and dedication into a painting, and I can't verbally share that on the spot. And so I knew this years ago when I was in my 20s, and I started writing very loose descriptions, and this was my way of sharing, you know, my thoughts. And then over the time they kind of turned it more poetic descriptions to now they are like poems, but they also describe the painting that you're looking at. So, and
we have a sample of that coming up later, which we'll talk about shortly. So obviously it's a big leap from the traditional, and particularly the way you paint, which is very traditional with the oils. And it's a big leap from that to what we're talking about, why we're here today. So how did you get into the world of NFTs?
Well, it was completely unexpected. That was Mac, again, from the manager of the band, our mutual friend, introduced us. And
right.
And then I started again. At first, I was like, "No, I don't think this is for me. I'm so dedicated to this old world, you know, technique that I'm." But then it really hit me that I've been making films for years. That's kind of my second love, is to make movies. I've been doing that since I was young too. And I started realizing I do this already. I have a knowledge of how to animate my paintings. I have a knowledge of how to, you know, put clips together and put the audio in there, and all these things and then I started experimenting, and I got really excited. Like the first one, I was like, "Oh, this is amazing. I can enter this world and be relevant." Yeah. So
I loved it because I saw this newfound inspiration. He went wake up in the morning and show me, which I love because he hides all his paintings from me. So I have to wait a year and a half before I single painting. But this, you know, he was so excited about.
I was.
Yeah.
To share, I know I got that enthusiasm as well. Each time we spoke, it was, I thought of something else, and I'm going to do this, and it was just wonderful seeing that enthusiasm and that new path you were taking, which was so complementary to the path you were already on. So it wasn't a huge digression. And just very briefly and generally, how have you made the NFTs different from your paintings themselves?
Well, yeah, the different ones I did different things for. You know, a few of them, there was something that I loved that I could do in this world that I can't do in the real world is share the original concept, which is usually very loose, and then I have another concept that maybe gets a little more detailed, and maybe there's even notes in that concept about the poem that, or the description that's going to be written about it. And so in a gallery, that would all be separate. It would be there's a sketch, there's another sketch, and then there's the final painting that I've worked a year on. And then there's the poem that hangs next to it, but someone would have to read that to themselves and then look at the painting. And so, that's what I loved, was I could combine all that into one piece of art, basically, in this world. And that's what I've done with one of them. I've done that where it's everything. It's the drawings, it's the final painting, it's the poem being read to you.
Yes.
And then other ones, I did actually animate them. You'll see when we walk through the gallery, I put some falling snow in there. I would make the clockworks move. And all this it was very technical. It wasn't something I just did overnight, No. And in fact, the most subtle one is this a little portrait I did called Firefly, and the eyes just barely move. And I spent, so many hours on that just because it was really hard.
Yeah.
I almost but I think it's one of my favorites too. So
it's wonderful. And just to explain that, when Tim talks about animating, I mean, you think of animation being like big movements. The animation he's incorporated is so subtle, as you'll see. And in fact, one of the paintings, I had to move the slider quite fast in order to see the actual animation, because it was so subtle, and it took me a while to pick up on it. So we'll come on to that very, very quickly. But I've just got one final question, really, and that is, now that you've experienced this new journey, or this complementary journey with NFTs and what you're doing with the paintings, do you think that will influence your future painted work, so that you might be painting and thinking, well, I'll do that with animation in mind, and sort of planning ahead on how you might actually animate the background or elements of the painting that you're actually creating at the time?
I do. I think if this continues on and it grows, I will definitely do that, because I'm doing that already with my whole history of work. Everything I'm looking at, I'm going, oh, what could I do with that? What's this? What's that little extra step that I couldn't really create in real life? So yeah,
that's great.
I
and you'll think of more. You'll think of a lot more. Before we go, we're going to start the exhibition in a second. We're going to go into but before we do, I've got one last little question, and that is for you to describe. I mean, we've described your strange and unusual working hours, but also the way you work, in that the periods of time between starting to paint your work and your paintings and actually revealing them to the world. Because what I haven't mentioned is Tim has actually got two galleries, one in San Diego where he lives and another in Amsterdam. And so obviously there's a body of work that you do. And can you just explain the period?
Yeah, so I do. Well, we've had our gallery here in San Diego for 21 years now. And then we've had Amsterdam has it been 2 years? Yeah. One of those has been in a pandemic, which didn't help, but it was so what I do is I have exhibitions every 1.5 to 2 years. And I create basically 20 to 30 paintings for an exhibition. And it takes me about 2 years to complete that many paintings. So I don't paint a lot of work, because every one of them they're just very detailed, and some are smaller, and if you add up the hours I have into that one, it's much less than a bigger painting that I did have in the works for 2 solid years. But I hide them all So even Amy doesn't see them until they're like 95% done.
Yeah.
So if you go in my studio right now, I've maybe got 20, 25 paintings in the works. Some are just background, some are getting closer to finished. But once I get a date for a show, then I'm pretty good at kind of timing it all to come together. I've never really missed a date. Once we usually plan a year ahead, so I've got time. But that's sort of, when I say it takes me years to complete a painting, people are like, well, how do you have an exhibition of 20 to 30 paintings? It's because the way oils are, they take a few weeks to dry in between the layers. And sometimes I have 100 layers or more on a painting. So that's basically how I work and how I complete that much work and have a show. So
that's amazing. I ought to explain, by the way, we're about to go into the exhibition now, but they haven't got a child locked away in a cupboard. That's a cat.
You can hear that? We were wondering.
So it's no problem. Okay, so we're here in our virtual 3D art gallery, and Tim, we're right here now with your first work, and this is one of the transition pieces. If you'd like to explain a little bit about it, and the title first of all.
The title is Rigoletto, and that was the first of these 6 that I did. And so the drawing I did while we were on a trip in Venice, getting my frames over there, and we went to see Rigoletto at the La Fenice there. It's the opera house in Venice. So yeah, I was thinking about this. We went to see that opera, and then the next day, we were kind of just walking around the streets of Venice, and there was a street performer there, and his face was all powdered white, and he was really just cool looking. And I remember being like taken by that person who did this for a living. I thought this older man, he just comes out here and stands there every day. There's a little alarm going. I will continue.
I apologize.
That's okay. So anyway, so I had these 2 experiences in the matter of like a 12-hour period of, this elegant theater performance that we went to see, and then this street performer who was just, standing there on the street. And I think I combined those 2 experiences into this one character that I created.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And this is a transition, and you've done it so subtly. It's going from a drawing, which you can see in this part now. It started off and you can see the drawing, and then it slowly transitions to the painting itself. But if you can look at the white splashes above the forehead, you can see those animating as well. As I say, it's all very subtle, all very tasteful, and doesn't detract from the central painting itself. So that is Rigoletto. I think we're going to move on to Shades of Snow, which is it's the tree on the right. Again, this is an animated piece. Tim, can you explain what gave you the inspiration for this one?
Yeah, I like that we went to this one because this is the complete. It's just different. It's like that first one was just it's that transition thing that we were talking about earlier. This one I actually animated the piece. I went in. I spent a couple nights isolating the tree. So I created another layer of that tree, and so I could isolate it from the background of my painting. And then I was able to put snow falling behind the tree, some in front. I put kind of some a haze in there, and the leaves are really slowly moving up from the tree, but everything's really subtle. I think that's what with everything in this field, there's this fine line, I think, to keep it really fine art. And And that's what it's a balance, and it's new to me too. So I'm being very careful to keep it as a painting.
Absolutely. You're not compromising the feel of it. And Russ, are you able to move in a little bit closer to that, or is that as close as you can get? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. Just a bit more detail.
And I had the snow kind of moving up. It falls a little bit, but everything's kind of moving up on the piece. So
it's kind of like the mystery of your trees. Trees are a common place in Tim's work, and in the paintings they kind of offer hope and loss and love and beauty and darkness. It's really up to the viewer to decide. Are the leaves going up? Is the snow going up, or is it falling down? So.
Yeah, it's great. Or is the tree upside down?
Amy gets to it. She's in the galleries a lot, talking to people who come in, and the trees are probably my most popular paintings, I would say, at least for discussion, because everybody does have their own sort of, they mean something different to everybody.
Interpretation, yes. Yeah. And I love the way the roots wrap around the sphere. It's just beautiful.
Oh.
And if we can move to the Firefly, which is the one on the left there, that's the one. I know this is Jen's favorite. Can you go just a touch closer, please, Russ? And Tim, because I want to see, you've got to look really carefully, but the eyes, there is some general animation in the background, but also pay attention to the eyes as well. It's ever so subtle, but it really brings it to life. So, Tim, how did you think about animating this? Because there's not an awful lot really, that you can blatantly animate.
Yeah, there really isn't. I started out by isolating those the more loose oil paint. So the paint that you see coming at you, it almost acts like a window. That's actually in the painting, but it's really subtle. So I isolated that and I brought it so forward and then blurred it because it was so. I like that distance quality that it gave to it.
The
eyes,
it gives it a 3D feel.
The eyes just barely move, and that's what I was mentioning earlier. It was so fun to do that, but I didn't think I could pull it off because there were so many details. The reflections have to stay still because those don't change, so it's very subtle. But just enough to give it a little extra life and that extra interest. You see it right there before it fades to black. Her eyes give it a little extra dark
little movement. That's lovely.
I really like that.
So Snowflake, which used to be my favorite, and that's been supplanted now, as you know. But I love this one. I mean, I really, really adore this picture. And again, Russ, just a little bit closer. Just the pensive nature and what she's thinking about, and maybe at this point you could also mention how Amy comes into some of these or many of these paintings.
Amy is a big part. Like you were always turning up in my paintings. So I was even this one. It's somewhat, I would say. I mean, all the characters, I think, unless. It's funny, unless it has a darker content to it, I'll kind of leave Amy out because I don't like to associate her with, sadness. But in this, I don't see this as a sad painting at all. But I think what I was thinking about was this person inside a room, and it probably relates a lot to today with everything going on in the world. And seeing the more simple sides of life, and she's looking at something that is very simple, but it's not. It's extremely intricate if you look closely at a snowflake.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was my
absolutely
thoughts when I was creating that.
It's
and
wonderful.
This one, and through the window there, it's snowing a little bit. And there's some atmosphere.
See it moving. And also a good time to mention, and I should have mentioned this before, little mischievously, Tim is also known for concealing messages and hidden things inside the painting, and it's actually driven me mad, because once I found out about this, I've been scouring the paintings trying to find. Do you want to explain a little bit about it, but not too much about these, because not specifically, because I want people to find them.
Yeah, I rarely point out where things are,
Good.
because that's the fun of it. I love to watch people just struggle to find these tiny little details. And a lot of times I'll put these jeweler's loops on, and I'll put it so tiny in there that you really can't see it with the naked eye. But but Amy's name is usually in most of the paintings. So I won't tell you where, but there's usually an A, an M, and a Y. There's things like dates. The date like that we met. Amy's birthday sometimes will be in there. Other little messages.
And wasn't there something in the Imagine Dragons paintings which became a treasure hunt in a way?
There was so much hidden in there. Because not only was I hiding things, I was talking to the band, and they're like, we want to hide this and this secret date, and
we're still not allowed to tell all the things, but the main
have they not been discovered yet?
Not everything.
Not everything.
Yeah. But you hid what, coordinates?
Yeah, in the beginning, Mac gave me some coordinates to hide in the painting, and then I thought it was going to be immediate, but it took like a couple of weeks for someone to figure out. But they were coordinates to go out in the desert near Las Vegas where the band lived, and they could dig up like a guitar with lifelong tickets to their concerts, and I forget what else was in there, but some amazing things. And I got to witness all of that. So
that's great. Can we just, Russ? Can we go to on the opposite wall there, the drawing on the left? Just to quickly take a look at the drawing. We'll come on to this painting itself shortly. But this is one of the drawings. It was only because it was the closest one from the Unseen Theatre, and this is one of your early drawings. Was this a concept drawing, or
this is a good one to show now, because that is one of my. That's what when I'm traveling and I get a quick thought in my head and I don't want to lose it. This is what I do. I'll carry a sketchbook around with me, and it's like taking notes for me. It's like I get this idea, and I know if I don't draw it, I'll lose it, because I get thousands of ideas. It's just constant. It's frustrating at times because I know I'll never have the time to paint everything that I get flooded in my head. So, but this is something I would do as notes to myself. Like, this was the idea, and then that's enough information for me to remember that thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, actually, let's go on to the actual painting itself of the Unseen Theatre, Russ, if we can. That's the one. I think we've got it in the middle of the gallery.
Oh, right.
That's the one. So now I don't know whether this is the animated version, but this is one of the transitions which goes from the drawings. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about this whole concept, please, Tim? I love this.
Oh, well, the painting itself, I have a hard time describing my paintings, but I was imagining like a theater, like if we were walking and we opened these doors and they were rehearsing something, and I guess it was something I would visualize as kind of the ultimate production. And then Amy, you were saying that she thought maybe that was like sort of half a self-portrait of me sitting there,
with the face covered up. Can you zoom in a little bit, please, Russ? Thank you. It's just the colors. I mean, it's a really, really vibrant piece, and the detail is incredible. I mean, when you look at this close up, the detail is extraordinary.
Oh, And that's what's cool. I'm so, yeah. So there's the sketch that we just looked at, and you see that, you know, how simple that is compared to what the final paint. That was a painting that probably took me 8 months to a year.
Wow.
Just being on and off my easel for that long, and then it changed to a much more detailed drawing. And then it'll fade into the completed painting. Yeah. That's what I love about the NFTs is I can create. That's amazing to me that I can offer that as a single piece of art, and I can even expand on that further. So,
well, that actually leads me into the final piece, which actually we're not showing in the gallery at the moment, and this actually wasn't one of the paintings that Tim was going to use for the NFTs, and I happened to mention I'd seen this, and it blew me away. I was just bowled over by it, and I think because of that, he felt really guilty and started to work a little bit on it. And this has become something very, very special and very unique, and I don't think anything like it has been created before. This is a painting called En Pointe. I'll let Tim explain a little bit about the painting, but if I can describe, and we're going to tease a little bit, I think if Russ can find it in the directory, this is everything. This is actually a film. It comprises of a number of components. This is it. That's it. Yeah. And this is a film that Tim put together, which incorporates the final oil painting, the various drawings that came to be the painting, but also a lot of the concepts that aren't in the final painting. And this is accompanied by a reading of some prose, amazing prose, and you put all this together, and the emotion, it's just wonderful. It's very difficult to describe, and I couldn't do it justice by describing it, but this is something quite extraordinary. And we're going to be presenting this as, I don't think anything's been done before like this, an art installation. So it will be the film, which is what you're seeing at the moment, and then you'll be able to turn, let's call it the virtual pages, and each page will have one of the different drawings, the final painting itself, obviously, the prose, the writings, everything. It's a complete story in some ways. But if you'd like to talk a little bit about the painting itself, Tim, and the inspiration behind it, if you can.
Yeah, the painting goes back to this one's a hard one to describe because it almost has two meanings. It has the meaning that the poem that I wrote has, that is inspired by a woman who used to come into the gallery almost every day, and she just passed away 2 nights ago. And she was really close to us.
Just shy of 99 years old.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
99 years old. She was amazing, and she would tell the story about how music and art is kind of the ultimate luxury of being human. It's what sets us apart as humans, and to really appreciate that. And it stuck in my head, and that's what inspired this poem that I attached to this painting. So when you hear the vocals read my poem, that's what that is. Originally,
it's obviously very personal.
Originally, the painting was Amy actually posed for this one, which is very rare. She doesn't pose for many, and so I saw it as a portrait of Amy, and she's always presenting my art. She's the one kind of out in the galleries talking to people, and she's balancing this chaotic world a lot of times. And trying to be really graceful about it. So that's what the leopards, and there's Amy on the stage, and that's what that means. The clockworks I actually added after I had written the poem, so the painting was done. It just hadn't been varnished yet, and then I started attaching that story of our friend Margarita. and the clockworks. Yeah, I saw them as representing time, and
they actually move. The cogs actually move in this installation. I'll tell you what I'd love to do. I don't know if you can do this, Russ, but would it be possible to put it about halfway or close to the beginning? And is it possible to have a little bit of the audio? I'd love everyone to hear just a little snippet, if that's possible.
My body is old, my hair is brittle at worst, and some think of me cursed, she said.
It's very faint. I hope everyone can hear that.
As rehearsed. Yet here again, wrong was I to judge an impression at first.
Okay, mute it now. I just wanted to give a little tease. That's all. I don't want to ruin it. But whose voice is that, by the way, Tim?
That's our friend John Kavanagh, who is on the BBC. He's
right.
On all four. He's one of the few people that have actually broadcast on all four stations there, and I can't believe he does this for me. We've just become friends over the years, and I'll send him things, and he's just so kind to do this for me. And I mean, he does. You'll hear his voice in the Tate Modern Museum.
Olympics.
The Olympics. That's right.
He's the English voice for the Olympics. Yeah. So.
Of course.
So, and,
no, it fits so beautifully. I mean, it just fits this perfectly, and just makes it a complete audio-visual experience, an emotional experience when you actually watch this and savor it. What I'd like to do, and I do feel as though I'm rushing, but I don't want to, but I know, we have a limited amount of time. And what I'd like to do is see if there are any questions out there, because I know there's a lot of interested people and a lot of people who dearly love your work. And I know you've got some of your traditional fans who've tuned in, because I've seen a couple of the comments. So if anyone has any questions for Tim, I'd welcome one or two. We've got time for a couple. Can you read that, Tim? Do you work using reference images, or does everything come from your imagination?
Everything comes from my imagination, or a memory. Like when I paint those leopards, or I paint something that is real. Usually, just an animal or something. I'll never look directly at that. I'll just go from memory, because I like the fact that I get it wrong in a way. It's gone through the transition of my interpretation, and so I never look. The only thing I will do is once in a while Amy will come in and I'll say I just can't quite get the hand gesture right for what I'm trying to portray, so I'll have her kind of pose and hold her hands a certain way, or so she will
for reference.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But otherwise I never look at anything.
And all those fine little lines, nothing is done but with oil, your paint, and your hands. Like, he never uses any guide or template. It's all
freehand. It's amazing. I'm envious. We've got another one here. I have noticed you often use quite muted tones within your work. What inspires your color choices?
That's a good question. I usually have that sort of mapped out in my head before I do start a painting. I never know where that comes from. I could see, we could be walking down the street and I look at a building with the sky behind it, and it might be a blue sky, a brownish building, and I love the color, the combination of those colors. So I go home and I have a concept in my head for a painting, completely different. It won't have a sky or a building in it. It will be a person, or something. But I love the color combination. So that's the best I could answer that. It's really random, but I do usually have an idea before I start the painting. Excellent.
And we've got Your asks, which artists have the most, actually, this is a great question. I should have asked this. Which artists have had the most influential impact on you and your work?
I would definitely say historical artists, and all for technique. I wish I could enjoy paintings more, but when we go, I love going to a museum, but I do it as to learn in a way. I look at Jan van
Technical.
Eyck. Jan van Eyck is a Flemish artist that I love. Probably he would be the top artist I would have to say that I will study his paintings, not for the concept of the painting, but for the technique and the refined quality of the painting.
Wow.
And it's always Rembrandt or Jan van Eyck or Raphael or Vermeer. I love Vermeer's work.
Wow. So, and any contemporary?
I no, I can't think of any contemporary artists that I sort of distance myself from that for some reason. I don't know. I guess I don't want any contemporary influence on me, I guess.
Right. You like the traditional. No, that comes across.
Yeah.
When you think about a new concept or painting, do you now immediately think of how you will design the NFT? That's from Liz.
Well, I know Liz. Hi, Liz. Anyway, I think I probably will. I think that,
Yes.
yeah, in the future, because I'm already doing it. Everything I'm looking at, I'm all, oh, I can make that move.
We got you hooked now.
Yeah, yeah. I think, the last piece you show with the on point is kind of the ultimate piece of art that I could present in this world, where I can go all the way from my earliest drawings, and especially a piece like that has like 8 or 9 drawings that I can include. It goes to the final painting. It goes to all the movements I made in the NFT with the clockworks moving, and then it has the narration of my poem. So it has really everything I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
it tells a story. It's a journey, yeah. in fact. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think we'll have this as the last one. Artists such as Beeple are making a big noise in the digital space. Is it true he also worked with you in Imagine Dragons?
It is. He did the next album after me. So yeah, we have a very close connection with the band.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sounds like Imagine Dragons have a lot to answer for in a good way. Yeah. In a good way. And a little comment here from Tibben Giggles. Not a question, just our amazement. Stunning work as always. Love and hugs from Tim and Jen. Obviously, some friends of yours, some fans. Yeah. But obviously, I've seen, and I would urge anyone who finds any of this work that you've seen interesting, please check out Tim's website. And there are some amazing YouTube videos, some observations where he talks about his paintings, and also some wonderful videos of his exhibitions as well. And you've got a lot of his fans, and there are an awful lot of them, talking about Tim and Amy and the work itself, and it really comes across. I mean, as you can tell, Tim is a very humble man. He's a lovely man. Amy's even lovelier. I'm sorry, Tim. It's a privilege to talk to them today. Thanks everyone for your time. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it's given you a little bit of insight into Tim's work. And I'll leave the last words to Tim and Amy.
Oh. Well, thank you. It was an honor, and I'm really excited about the future of this. It's something I didn't know I had a place in, and now I really think I do. I love doing this. I don't see it as a replacement of what I do. It's just an addition to what I already create. So I'm really excited about it.
And he puts such love and devotion into every single piece that he creates, because I think you feel that if you do, it'll make it live on long after he's gone. And so this is such a fascinating extension of that. So
fantastic.
Thank you.
That's a lovely way to leave it. Tim, Amy, thanks so much indeed. Look forward to seeing even more in the future. And I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
All the very best. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.